Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. I want to welcome you to another segment of the Jermaine Brown Sports Talk Show. Today is Wednesday, March the 26th, 2025. Man, we're coming up on the end of March already. Get ready to go right into April. Tax day. Got to send in my W-2s and all that stuff so I can go and fill out file my taxes for the year. I hate doing this time of the year, but that's neither here nor there. Today's topic, though, is going to be about how two iconic franchises in the NFL have ruined their franchises for 2025 by not planning earlier. I'm talking about the New York Football Giants and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now let's get into this. What's that old saying? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. There's truth to that. There's a lot of truth to that. That is a very true saying. Or lack of preparation leads you to failure. But there's a commercial that is one of my dad's favorite commercials of all time, of all the commercials out there. And I believe this commercial existed back in the 70s, definitely the 80s. It's the Fran Oil commercial. You can either pay me now, and or you could pay more later. So that means you can either pay for the Fran oil filter now, or you're going to pay that mechanic more money later. Okay, that's what that was referred to, and my dad loves that commercial. Now, what does this have to do with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New York Football Giants? It's real simple. In today's NFL, since the 2000s started, really say mid 2000s, because see, the NFL used to be a running back league. As long as you can run the football and play defense, you can win a lot of games. You didn't the quarterback wasn't as valuable in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. The quarterback wasn't as valuable. Okay? Great to have one, but it wasn't considered the most important position. As long as you have that defense and that running game, you can go a long way. And you can still do that today. However, without above average, now you don't need elite quarterback play, but you need at least above average quarterback play. It's hard to do anything in a given year. Yeah, you might have one year where you luck up, like the New York Jets in 2010, 2011 lucked up, and they got to AFC championship games with average quarterback play in Mark Sanchez. But that's hard to do and consistently do. And if you notice, the Jets have not even had average quarterback play since. We've just been terrible. But this is not about the Jets. This is about the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New York Football Giants. Now, here's where both erred and erred badly. They both had, not iconic, that's not the right word I want to use, Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Ben Roethlisberger is going to be a Hall of Fame, folks. Okay? He may not be a first ballot or second ballot, but he's going to be a Hall of Fame. Eli Manning ultimately will be into the Hall of Fame. Eli Manning played for the New York Giants. Ben Roethlisberger played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And both franchises are guilty of hanging on to their Hall of Fame quarterback too long and not preparing for the future. Let's roll back to the year of 2018, the 2018 draft. Now, everyone knew Ben Roethlisberger and Eli Manning was both long in the tooth, that their days of playing at a high level was coming to an end. Everyone knew that. This was no secret. But instead of being pragmatic and saying, let's prepare for the future, let's get there. And that was a quarterback rich draft. 5 quarterbacks went in the first round in that draft, folks, the 2018 draft. 5 quarterbacks. Pittsburgh, first round, did not pick a quarterback. The Giants, first round, did not pick a quarterback. The Giants picked a running back. And when they asked Dave Gettleman, who was the GM at the time, why would you pick a running back when you needed a quarterback? Oh, because we believe that this running back, Saquon Barkley, will wear a gold jacket one day. And you know what? He's right. Saquon will wear a gold jacket one day. What's the problem, though? Because Dave Gettleman and the Giants didn't win games, Dave Gettleman only lasted a couple more seasons before he was out on his tail. Now, what good is Saquon winning that gold jacket if you're not the one there on the team? That's a GM. You needed a quarterback. And that was not no weak quarterback class. That was not a weak quarterback class, folks. Remember, 5 quarterbacks went in that first round that year. But you needed a quarterback. You know, I was debating this with my dad about a week or so ago when they said, do you take the best player available or do you take a quarterback, even if he's not the best player? I says, I have this rule, and I'm going to use the 50 Cent rule. What do you mean the 50 Cent rule? 50 Cent, you know, that rapper, that entertainer, their Curtis Jackson, 50 Cent. He has this rule, or he came out with an album. Let me better say it that way. He came out with an album, Get Rich or Die Trying. Well, I'm going to transpose that a little bit. I'm going to steal that line a little bit. Get a quarterback or die trying. If you don't have a quarterback, you die. You keep drafting. I don't care if you got to draft every year and get a quarterback every year. Better to do that than to not draft, not get a quarterback. Arizona did that. Arizona in that same draft, 2018 draft. Okay, took Josh Rosen, who I thought was going to actually do something in the NFL. So I got that one wrong. But in the next season, when it got Kyler Murray with the number 1 pick, Arizona used a first round pick on Josh Rosen, but the next year said, we're going to go get Kyler Murray. And people called them dumb, saying they don't know what they're doing. Because why would you use a first round pick and give up a first round pick on a quarterback only to get another quarterback a year later? It's real simple. Because Josh Rosen wasn't a good quarterback, and they knew that first year. So why did you pick Josh Rosen? Because you needed a quarterback. So they died trying, and ultimately they hit the second time around, and now nobody's questioning this. Nobody's questioning them for doing that. But the Giants, you sitting there, top 5 in the draft, picking. And you went and got Saquon Barkley. And Saquon Barkley's a great player. And he will eventually be a Hall of Fame the way his career is going. But you still lead a quarterback. And it's now 2018, 19, 20. 7 years later, and you're still looking for a quarterback. Just think about that, folks. Just let that marinate. You're still looking for a quarterback 7 seasons later. And 2 of the quarterbacks out of the 5, one's a guaranteed first ballot, he's a walk-in Hall of Famer the day he retires 5 years later. Walk-in Hall of Famer, Lamar Jackson. And he was the last quarterback picked in that first round. Just let that marinate. He was the last pick in the first round. Then there's another quarterback by the name of Josh Allen who is on his way to the Hall of Fame if he has another MVP type season or, great. Because to me, he's what I call, and I said it, at the time, a better version of Cam Newton. Same exact body type, same exact playing style. The only difference is both got rocket arms. But the only difference is he's much more accurate than Cam ever was. A better version of Cam Newton. That's what I call Josh Allen. And if Josh keep playing the way he's playing, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. So 2 out of that 5 is going to be a guaranteed Hall of Famer the way things are going. And though you may have drafted a Hall of Famer, but it wasn't from the most important position in the sport. This is why you haven't been winning. I'd rather have that Hall of Fame quarterback than that Hall of Fame running back in today's NFL. The way the rules are set up, you got to have. Come on, Pittsburgh is in the same boat. In that same year, and they knew that Ben Roethlisberger was near retirement, but they weren't more about Ben Roethlisberger's feelings than they were about planning for the future. And they could have drafted Lamar Jackson. They were sitting right in position to draft Lamar, and they let Lamar get away. So they knew they needed a quarterback of the future. And now look what Lamar Jackson is doing. But you see, things I think worked out best for Lamar because why? He went to a team that utilized what he does best and not ask him to be something he wasn't. Where Pittsburgh was going to ask him to be Ben Roethlisberger, and he's not Ben Roethlisberger. He's better than Ben. But they was going to ask him to be Ben, sit in the pocket and throw that wasn't Lamar, especially coming out of the league. So it would not have worked. So I'm glad Pittsburgh ultimately passed on Lamar, but that's not the point. The point is you did not plan and prepare for the future. So 7 years later, you're still trying to make up for that mistake you made in 2018. And then you made the same mistake again. Because why? You have a Lamar Jackson light version in Justin Fields. And Fields played well. Fields was putting up historic numbers for since he came into the league. His best numbers. And the team was winning. And the players and everybody liked him. And what did Mike Tomlin do? You benched him for Russell Wilson. And though it worked in the beginning, it ultimately faded out. You never went back to Justin Fields. Now Justin leaves the Steelers. And now you're sitting there with no Russell Wilson and no Justin Fields. Now you're waiting on Aaron Rodgers and hoping Aaron Rodgers, please accept us. A 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers who just got kicked out of the Jets. Just let that imagine. You're begging for a quarterback who just got kicked out of the New York Jets, who has a bad history of quarterbacks. Just let that sink in. The Steelers are desperate because why? You got Hall of Famers across the board there. Or potential Hall of Famers across the board, and it's being wasted because right now the only quarterback you have on the roster worthy of anything is Mason Rudolph. You had him a couple of years ago. He's nothing special. If he was, he would have still been there. He would have been your starter. You wouldn't have needed to bring in Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. You can't go into next season with Mason Rudolph as your starter. Let's see, Aaron Rodgers decides he wants to retire, or he wants to wait, or he picks another team. Now you would say, well, another team. The Giants was the only competition for the Steelers. Maybe not. Now, I know the Vikings was kicking it around for a little while, and that was actually the best spot for him to go to, given multiple factors. But there's a team that might be waiting in the weeds, as they say, about working behind the scenes, and that's the 49ers. I can see the 49ers doing this deal rather than paying Brock Purdy $50-60 million. I can see the 49ers doing this deal. And Aaron Rodgers is from that area, so it works. Aaron Rodgers would go back to San Francisco in a heartbeat over Pittsburgh if the opportunity presents itself. I do believe that. And I have the sneaky suspicion this is what might end up going down, that Pittsburgh might be left at the altar. Because why do I say that? Aaron Rodgers he visited the team last Friday. And he left the building without a deal. That's always a bad sign. That means you could not convince him to sign on the dotted line when he was available to sign on the dotted line. So that tells me he doesn't want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. But now, if you're the Steelers, you're begging because you did not properly prepare back in 2018. You did not properly prepare, like the Giants. You did not properly prepare. And the Giants, let me get back to them. Last season, see, and it's like my former pastor, God rest his soul, Joseph Mendoza, had a saying. The biggest fool is the fool who fools himself. The Giants are the biggest fool. Why? Last season in 2024 draft, yeah, because this is the 2025 draft. So 2024 draft, this was a quarterback-rich draft. You knew Daniel Jones was not the answer. You knew this, despite the fact that you wouldn't gave him over 35, 40 million a year for 2 seasons. You knew he was not the guy. And what did the Giants do? Remember that Hall of Fame running back that they drafted, Saquon Barkley, who they said going to wear a gold, they believe going to wear a gold jacket one day? Well, this new administration did not value Saquon the same way, didn't see him the same way. So they insulted him by saying, go see what you're worth, and then we'll see if we'll match it. But give us the right to match it. And Saquon did the right thing. Go right across town, not across town, just go right down the New Jersey Turnpike, go right into Philadelphia, the Giants' arch rivals, their arch nemesis. Philly says, we'll give you a contract worth what the Giants wasn't. And he never gave the Giants a chance to match it. He said, I'll take it. Signed right on the dot, and he became a Philadelphia Eagle. So now you let him go, which weakens Daniel Jones because Jones now doesn't have that running game from the running back to help him out. And you know he's not capable of carrying a team. So what did you want to do? Instead of saying, okay, let's go get our quarterback of the future. Now, you wasn't getting Caleb Williams because Chicago was not moving off the first pick. So you wasn't getting him. So let's check him off. The Giants did try to move up to get Jaden Daniels, but Washington said no. So the Giants did at least make an attempt to get Jaden Daniels. Washington said no. The Giants tried to get Drake May. Excuse me. The Giants tried to get Drake May. New England said no. So you wasn't getting those 3 quarterbacks. But there was 2 other quarterbacks drafted in the first round, folks, who was available when the Giants came around to drafting. Okay, there was 2 other quarterbacks, 2 other QBs. Michael Penix Jr., nobody thought he was going to go high. And Bo Nix, nobody thought he was going to go high. Okay? But both were available when it came time for the Giants to draft. And you knew you needed a quarterback of the future because you knew Daniel Jones wasn't the guy. And what did this current administration did? Not new, because they weren't new at the time. What did this current administration, Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll, do? Regardless whose decision it was, they're both tied together to this. Regardless as to whose decision it was. You went and drafted Malik Nabers, a top-end wide receiver. And don't get me wrong, you needed a Malik Nabers, but you needed the quarterback more. Because you knew Daniel Jones wasn't the guy. You knew it. At that point, you knew it. But you tried to force something to work that everyone knew wasn't going to work. You tried to make Daniel Jones be like if he was elevating the team. You tried to turn him into something he never was going to be, a franchise quarterback. What do I mean by a franchise quarterback? That's a guy who elevates the guys around him. Or should I say a top end franchise quarterback? A top end franchise quarterback is a quarterback who elevates the guys around him, make them better than maybe what they really are. Then you have the regular franchise quarterback. Those are guys who, if everything's around them, you can win with them. The Brock Purdy's, the Dak Prescott's. See, those are guys, they're not elevators. Those are guys who, if everybody's good around them, you can win with them. They're franchise QBs, though. They're just not top end franchise QBs. They can't make up the deficiencies that are around them. They're not good enough to make that up. I'm just being really honest with you. That's why they're not elite quarterbacks. Elite quarterbacks can make up the difference of what's not around them and still lead the team to success, winning a bunch of games. That said, but this is not about Brock Purdy. This is not about Dak Prescott because those teams, they still got good quarterbacks. Average to above average play at quarterback. So you can still win with those guys, but you have to have the right team around them. Daniel Jones is that quarterback where you have to have the right team around him to win. You got to have all the talent around. You got to be deep at running back, wide receivers. You have a great offensive line. You have to have some tight ends. Now you can win with that guy. And you got to have the defense. And now you can win with that guy. Because he's not an elevator of talent. That said, so you went and drafted Malik Nabers. You did not draft Michael Penix Jr., who on the back end of Atlanta season, once he finally got in there, played well. And you didn't draft Bo Nix, who ultimately went to Denver a few picks later and helped take Denver to the playoffs. Now imagine if Bo Nix took the Giants to the playoffs, or at least had a winning record. There's no talk of firing the coaching GM. But you're going to get that what quote unquote best player available when you don't have a quarterback. And I'm sorry. The quarterback is the one who comes first over other skilled positions. The quarterback comes from, if you don't have a quarterback, that's one of those get a quarterback or die trying. I don't believe in getting the best player available. The only way that works, in my opinion, getting the best player available is once you have the quarterback, then draft the best player available. If you got the quarterback, draft the best player available. But if you don't have the quarterback, get the quarterback, draft the quarterback. I don't care if you have to do it every draft until you get it right. Eventually, you'll get it right if you just do it long enough. You keep just drafting the quarterback until you get it right. You'll get it right until you get one. But this is how two franchises who failed to properly prepare is now facing an uncertain future moving forward. I want to thank you for watching another segment of the Jermaine Brown Sports Talk Show. Have a good day.